It's October 12th. October 21st. I might be getting a little bit dyslexic. I switched around 21 to 12. I don't know where that came from. It's October 21st, 12:33. All right. And, the first thing is, look, I mentioned seraphic souls or whatever. Look. All right. You see, seraphic souls. This person will disappear from your life in November, etc. And it says universe. I don't know, maybe a message from the universe, right? But I haven't looked at it yet. Sometimes I don't look at them because, look, I don't really just believe, that a algorithm or something can tell me stuff about my personal life. Anyway, that's not the way I live. I feel just like, okay, like if somebody put up a sign, that said, if you want to go to heaven, take a right. If you want to go to hell, take a left. And they put it on the road. Well, that don't mean anything. Because it's like, first of all, you got to believe in heaven and hell. That's actually places you want to go toward. And somebody, just because someone puts a sign there, don't mean that it has anything to do with anything that's true. And people sometimes, they'll ask you like certain questions, like with assumptions behind the question. And if you don't believe in the assumption, the question don't even make any sense. And I just don't believe in the assumption that I can get a message on my phone and it's going to tell me somebody's going to disappear from my life in November. Anyway, I don't even have anybody in my life to disappear. Everybody in my life has disappeared. And if they haven't disappeared, I put them out. But look, okay, so it was just early this morning at 3:57 in the morning when I got up and did talk, and then I went back to sleep. Because for one thing, I felt like I was having a heart attack, and even now, see, it's still right there. I get a pain, like a little twitch of a pain, Okay, like a little reminder. Don't smoke. Seriously. So I don't think I'm gonna smoke anymore. I gotta do everything I can, to maintain the status quo. And I wanted to particularly, say that about the seraphic souls because I mentioned it before and I've seen it on my phone now. I'm still going to look at it because I'm curious. I can't help but be curious because I am curious, about my own kids. Sometimes I think my son would be dead. Especially if he's still, doing dope. Because dope is what caused a major fallout between me and him. Look, I've done dope in my life. He's done dope in his life. Yeah, a lot of everybody has done a little bit of dope. And sometimes you can manage it, sometimes you can't, Okay, considering dope, I made I made some notes and I actually put them, because I got a buddy, Tim, and he's been kind of like, I got another buddy in Virginia. I talked to him not long ago, but I haven't talked to him all that much, Tony, because we went kayaking every day. Well, Tim is the one who actually introduced me to the river, and he lives here in Florida, but I went out to see him not too long ago, and I got a good idea for my dehydrated peppers and stuff because his woman was covering stuff in chocolate. So I decided to do that to my dehydrated peppers. In fact, you know what? I'm going to show you. Well, I'll show you in a second. The chocolate, I tried melting the chocolate in the microwave and it didn't really work out. It was like the chocolate, actually it didn't melt. It kind of just burned. And so I guess they make some chocolate, you know, like that so that it don't melt and drip everywhere when you're cooking. You know, you put it in stuff, like maybe put it in cookies or something. And it kind of, when you cook the cookie, you know, so it doesn't just melt everywhere. So I guess I gotta get a different kind of chocolate to accomplish this, you know, task of embellishing my dehydrated peppers. Beautiful peppers, right off my pepper bush, which actually Kayla actually planted. And I think they, before my son left, you know, I think he sprayed my garden with, or actually, it's kind of a joint effort, you know. I think he sprayed it with weed killer. But they survived. Everything else died. It wasn't because I tried to kill it. But the thing is that my buddy Tim, I've worked with him and stuff, you know. We've had a good relationship. You know, and, you know, we've, you know, smoked, you know, pot and drank beer together. Done a little bit of cocaine with him before. And, but, you know, cocaine picks you up like a lift, but it also drops you down like a ton of bricks, you know, makes you depressed. Because it scoops up all your happy hormones. Anyway, but look, I do believe, you know, I can say this because nobody knows who Tim is but me and very close friends of mine. But I think maybe he might have been diagnosed with attention deficit disorder or something, you know, because I know when I worked with him before, you know, doing some stuff. I won't go into it, but and we had to work all night to complete the job, you know, on several occasions. And he would take, I believe he'd take the medication they give people who have ADD. And he'd get a lot of energy from it, you know. Starts with an A. I can't remember what the name of it is now. But it's like Ritalin and stuff. But it's not Ritalin. A lot of college students take it because it gives you better mental acuity and energy to stay awake. And it helps your mind to track like stuff that you're doing, like what you're reading and everything. And I took him to the airport, and I think he's still, you know, taking that stuff, you know. And so he must have a script for it or something. Maybe he was a kid, he was ADD. I don't know. But, you know, because he is telling me, like, his backseat driver, like, majorly, like, telling me, no, go over here. Yeah, you know, like when I was driving and stuff, like, it really irritated me. And I yelled at him, man. I told him to shut the F up. And then I railed on him so he would understand. Because, like, I was ready to, like, stop the truck and tell him to get out. Seriously. I was going to have it. And he never spoke to me again after that. I dropped him off. He thanked me, you know. I dropped him off and everything at the airport. But, you know, I still corresponded with him, but he never corresponded back. So I just said, look, man, don't take nothing personal, but you're not reciprocating. I'm not messaging you no more. Left it at that. I haven't, you know. And if we were going to talk, you know, we would have talked about the No Kings rally because that's something that I'm sure we could have talked about. Because I even seen, on the reports, they had, I ain't gonna stay where he lives. Yeah. But anyway, so that's about, dope. All right. And, dope, they say dope is for dopes. Well, not really, not all dope. Dope can actually help a person, Okay, alcohol is like dope. All right. There's a lot of acetaminophen, which Trump is saying gives people that other condition, autism. If it gets into the blood, the mother takes it, and it gets into the blood and goes into the baby, and then it gives the baby autism. That's so much bullshit, right? Well, okay, that's bullshit. Just like all dope is not bullshit. Okay, they give people medications and stuff like that to help them, and so some people self-medicate. They smoke cigarettes, they take Tylenol or acetaminophen, they drink alcohol, they smoke marijuana, they do cocaine, methamphetamine, all this stuff. But everything has side effects, and you really gotta, that's why they won't let you take some things only under the care of a doctor, because it can get out of hand, and so that's why you don't want to abuse anything. They call it abusing it, Well, some things take you by surprise, especially medications and drugs. And for example, when I was younger, like real young, even before I ever even took any kind of drugs volitionally, because I had friends that did it, or I wanted to try it, or something like that, or whatever, Well, LSD, okay. I remember Jimmy Swaggart preaching a sermon about drugs, and in the end times, and people on drugs and everything, and he's saying that from some news report, okay, this lady was on LSD and put her baby into the oven and cooked it because she thought it was a turkey. Okay, well, the way he was telling the story, it was had a big emotional kind of, like a sword, cutting India in a lot of pain. And this other young kid or something, jumping out of a window, thinking he could fly. It'd be LSD trips. All right, well, I've taken LSD, what the street name is acid, and it never did that to me, and I always knew that I was tripping, I would, me and my brother, be hitchhiking, and every car that would go by would have a trail, so it would see a trail from the car, and I look at the walls and they would be breathing in and out. I had a bad trip, I was playing cards. This people that I worked with, and looking at them all, each person, sitting there, and we're playing cards, and they're holding their cards up in their hands, like this, and they all looked dead, and it was looking like everyone was dead and we were in hell. I was looking at it, man, like we were in hell. I knew we weren't in hell, but it was like it opened the door to my eyes of we're all dead and in hell. I mean, I knew we weren't, because I was like an observer. I was like observing myself from a different point of consciousness, which wasn't the consciousness that was distorted. You know, I'm just gonna say, you know, like one of the things, you know, I'm gonna say it about my own son, you know, because I mean, he thought I poisoned him or something, you know. I never poisoned him. Wouldn't poison my son. I just actually gave him, you know, a bunch of money for helping me, and I reimbursed him, plus gave him extra money, you know. And then, you know, he went crazy, in my opinion. And, you know, he's throwing big boulders and stuff, you know, through my roof. Big 20-pound pavers. And then he thought, you know, people were like in his floorboard and people were in his roof. And he's shooting bullets, you know, through my house. Because of dope. He was tripping. You know, the guy that I was coming down the road by the VFW, and I thought that I heard him yelling out like at the end of a song, you know, like something about Donald Trump, saying Donald Trump, you know, sounded like it to me. And I stopped and I said, are they yelling Donald Trump, you know, because I'm a veteran of foreign war. And I'm not a member of the VFW, but I am a veteran of foreign war. And he said, no. And he said, why you say that? We were talking, and he said, you're delusional. Well, it kind of cut me. You're delusional. Because, like, you know, being delusional is a strong way of saying you misheard something. Well, I didn't react. But I thought about the choice of word, you know, and I felt after I left the conversation, during the conversation, you know, I calloused my heart, you know, like I don't let things hurt me, like, and, you know, but afterward I think about it and I can feel the pain, and the pain of the choice of the word delusional, and it kind of cut me a little bit deep, you know, and I thought that was pretty harsh, and it was a statement out of anger, because he was a Trump supporter. And but okay, so, you know, I misheard. And see, the thing is, and I admitted, like, I rationalized that, you know, because I wasn't on drugs or nothing. I don't take drugs anymore, and you know, and I mean, I'm not against smoking marijuana, but I don't even smoke marijuana. I drink alcohol. I guess that's a drug. But the thing is, you know, it seemed kind of harsh to me, and I felt in my heart and in my spirit, you know, in my mind, that, you know, he said that because, you know, he was coming out of anger against, like, people that are against Trump, you know. That's all. That's where the harshness came from. Because there's a difference between saying you're delusional and you can't hear that good. But anyway, I'm just saying that, you know, things can alter your state of consciousness. And they can make you hallucinate. All right? And they can make you see things through a filter that's not actually true. Like, if you put on a pair of glasses, depending on which color, sunglasses, depending on which color of lens it has, you know, and you put them on, you know, that's going to be, you know, what it, like, looks like to you. Like, if it's like a yellow kind of thing, everything's going to be, like, more, you know, brighter, but it's going to be protecting the blue rays or whatever, you know, that are kind of supposed to be damaging to your eyes and stuff. So, and it's the same thing, you know, drugs do the same thing, you know, they put a filter in your mind and stuff. Sometimes it can be helpful, Sometimes it can be scary. Sometimes it can be lethal. I mean, can you imagine coming out of your trip and seeing your baby in the oven? Well, look, okay, so, look here. This is what I woke up. I woke up to about 3/4 through this thing. This thing here. Look. Okay, and okay, look, here comes boom. Look. Look. Okay, well, one of them is science fiction. Ingress. I don't know what that even means. The making of Stephen Miller, a real piece of SH*T. Kimchi. The making of Stephen Miller. Some more news. That's 11 days ago. and then this one here. No Kings triggers Trump. Okay, that thing with Trump. That picture of Trump right there. That he made that with AI of him flying a F-14 or something like that, you know, a fighter jet, and then unloading a bunch of SHIT on the people protesting. He made it himself, taking a dump on people. There was 7 million people protesting. Around 22, more than, I don't know where I got them 22, but around at a bunch of different places, not only in America, but even like in Germany and England. Okay, but that's just news. That's news. But this one here, new evidence of out-of-body experiences and perennial wisdom. This lady is, and what is consciousness? Kashmiri Shaivism, Kashmiri Shiva. It's from you know, the Hindu Buddhism. And it's one of the, you know, like the Buddha was one teacher. Well, Kashmiri Shaivi was another. But I rewinded it, and this one was very touching to me. Like, it actually almost made me feel like crying, you know. Now I have to listen to it, you know. Started listening to it from the beginning. But I'm just gonna actually. What is consciousness? I can. Look, okay. The beauty of integration was consciousness, parallels and differences. How does it contrast with something, consciousness and beyond? But I'm just going to play, I guess, a clip from What is Consciousness, because let's see. You know, let me, you know, okay, look, I'm just gonna play. This is random, I don't know. Okay, this is random. I'm just going to do it. But
became interested in this Kashmiri Shaivism was because during one of my sabbaticals in the year 2000, I decided to go to Rochester University in the United States, where they had a very strong Asian studies program and professors studying a lot of ancient texts of Indian philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, etc. And so because I was there, I began taking courses in, for example, Kashmiri Shaivism. And that particular philosophy states that consciousness is fundamental. First, let me give you a little bit more background, because I think it'll help you understand how I got into this. So I was on that sabbatical year from the University of Oregon. So I spent 6 months at the University of Rochester, where I began, in fact, an advanced degree in Asian studies. And the professor I was studying with introduced us to sutras from a philosophical work that was called the Recognition Sutras. In Sanskrit, that would be the Pratyabhinya Hridayam. And the author was a sage named Kshemaraja. And the means of delivering these teachings in that era, this is like the 10th century now, was the sutra. And a sutra is the shortest possible statement of a teaching on a given question. And Sutra 1 in this work is really a definition of supreme consciousness, which is what I'm interested in today, and what I think Bernardo Castro, Federico Bachin, and others are interested in. So the sutra is...
Hush, Darby! Go! Go on now, get! And I can't play too much because they won't let me. YouTube won't let me. Maybe that might. But that's not like, the part that really touched me. But it just because this lady's name is I think it's Marjorie Wallacott. She's a professor. And this is from Essentia Foundation, 9 months ago. The Essentia Foundation, I listen to them a lot. And anyway, that's just gives you a... See, now I'm interested in Kashmiri Shaivism or something like that. But look, all right, now I'm just gonna show you. Okay, look. Okay, so that chair busted. All right, look. Okay. I got it all clamped up. Okay. And I did that the night that it broke. And I'm ready to take the clamps off now. And I just wanted to show, look. Okay. See, I bought 2 of them slabs a long time ago, and I epoxied them. Even the bark. Look at the bark. Gotta show the dogs. And this is the you can see the one in there I put a chocolate on. And these are my dehydrated habaneros. And this is a chocolate I tried to use. Okay. And since I'm here, I just want to show you how I did my countertop. That's that one. I did them all a little bit different. Look at this one. And look at this. And it's over here. I just want to show that. Since I'm coming in here to show you my chocolate covered habaneros. And so, see, I got a lot of work to do. And I got to get on it now. But I'm just happy, that I didn't die last night. Because I thought I was having a heart attack. I thought I could be having a heart attack. And it's a message to me, kind of. I mean, that, you know. Oh, okay. Okay, look. Okay. I'm done with that part. The part about Miss Professor Walcott, I think that's her name, the one talking here, is that she has interviewed and wrote about people that have had out of body experiences, like after they've been dead. All right, so they're dead, and then so there's no brain activity. Okay, your brain is not firing, your heart is not beating. All right. Could have been from being in surgery and your eyes are taped shut, because they tape your eyes shut when you're having surgery. All right. Yet people have, like in one case, this lady recognized the person after she came back to life, you know, and recognized this person as the one who was doing the chest compressions on her and broke her ribs. She said, "Oh, you're the one," because she was watching from out of body. So see, the thing is, okay, you have like two, you know, frames of reference, you know, in you know, thinking, okay, like in scientific thinking, okay, like one is what you call like materialism, and the other is idealism. Okay, well, this Kashmiri Shavi, okay, you know, he. Okay, the sutra, the sutra, the shortest response to a question is what the sutra is. It's the shortest response to a question, and so I wish I could have put out there. She can actually, you know, talk Sanskrit, like she can interpret it, you know. Okay, and Sanskrit is what Joseph Campbell said, you know, was the most spiritual of all languages, or something like that. But anyway, so anyway, in the question in the sutra, you know, of this particular sage, you know, it starts with a word in that Sanskrit language. I can't remember what it's called, you know, but consciousness. And this sentence doesn't have any verb in it, but is different like nouns or something, but it still means something. But it starts with consciousness, and that is like the idealism, you know. Consciousness precedes material. Okay, all right. So your consciousness has already been proven from the out of body experiences when people have died, or been, you know, like in a coma or something with your eyes shut and everything like that, you know, deprived of all senses of somebody's out of body experience. You see with something going on, you know. So your consciousness is not contained just in your head. All right, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about consciousness right now, and it touched me. And now, see, I've been kind of leaning into the belief that this is a simulation, because it seems like a simulation to me, like a learning ground or something, you know. And where that brings me to is more of a understanding, because like even if you ever watch Star Trek, you know, like the good guy, it does a really good job. Haven't seen it. I mean, I've seen it when I was a kid. It had a really good job of showing how the good guy actually becomes Darth Vader, the evil guy. But the process that he goes through to become Darth Vader, he used to be a good guy, and that just goes to show you that people can be pushed into the realities that drive them to take positions that they wouldn't have taken earlier in their life or something like that, you know. And drugs will do the same thing to you. They make you do stuff, or, you know, because you see things differently. And that's why you really got to be careful. And you got to understand that yeah, not everything is just as it appears, and that's one of the main things I learned when I was in college and in my life, that hardly anything is just as it appears. And so, we live our lives, seeing things through a dualistic kind of filter. A lot of dualisms, but we don't we don't see like everything that is out there. Okay, we see through a filter. Our eyes, filter out everything. Like we don't see like we don't see like a dog, for example. We don't see like a cat. We don't see like an owl. All these creatures see differently. They see in different spectrums. And they say animals, can see spirits. Some, that's what they believe. Some people believe it, Cats, dogs. Maybe they can smell them. I don't know. But you have idealism and you have materialism. Materialism is that they think that consciousness, comes from the neurons and everything, in our heads, and that's where consciousness comes from. It comes from our anatomy and everything. But idealism, it says consciousness precedes material, right? They're separate. And that lends to the belief that we're more than just these bodies. I believe that now. It was a long debate. I've had this debate in my mind for a long time, but now, there's evidence. And I believe it. And now I don't really. It's harder for me to hold a grudge. Like, it's harder for me to hold. Can't really hold a grudge against my kids for not talking to me, or my son for stuff that he'd done to me, or things that I'd done to my son. But it is what it is. I'm just going to call this one what it is and leave it at that. All right, bye.